WHIP, Philly's #1 college radio station.
We're back here on the main event, Philly's #1 college radio station, WHIP. 215-204-9449 is our number if you want to call and hang with us. We'll go out to the phone lines right now, and I know my next guest may not want me to call him a legend, but he is a Philadelphia radio legend. Used to hear him on the airways at WIP. He is still there, but not in his regular afternoon drive time show. Now working as well with Fox 29 as he anchors the sportscast, and that's the one and only Howard Eskin. Howard, it's Zach Gelb and Chase Senior, WHIP Radio in Philadelphia. How are you?
Absolutely sensational. I couldn't be better right now.
Well, that's fantastic. I would always want to wake up and just be Howard Eskin. I feel like you live a great life there, Howard.
Sometimes you may not want to wake up and be me, trust me. But right now, things are, I mean, it can't be any better than this with a game coming up.
Well, it's going to be a big-time game, Thursday Night Football. Chiefs coming into Lincoln Financial Field to play the Eagles, and you have Andy Reid coming over as he no longer is with the Eagles and now is with the Chiefs. McNabb's number is being retired at halftime. When you look back at this duo, how do you remember them?
Well, I remember a lot of success, and I'd like to kind of separate both of them, even though they were together, because without Donovan McNabb, or without Andy Reid, Donovan McNabb would not have been successful, because we did see that when he went to other places. But certainly Andy Reid needed a good quarterback, and he developed Donovan McNabb. But they wouldn't have won the division titles. They wouldn't have gone to the conference championship games. They wouldn't have gone to the Super Bowl. So clearly, when you look back at the 14 years that Andy Reid's had here, I think, 11 for Donovan McNabb? When you look back at those years, you obviously realize that between the both of them, they were very successful, and certainly Andy Reid was successful as the head coach.
We know this fan base is passionate like no other, and there are some fans that are bitter about the Reid and McNabb era. I expect a lot of applause at Lincoln Financial Field, but do you expect a standing ovation for both Reid and McNabb come Thursday night?
Yeah, not standing by everybody. There's still some people out there that don't like the fact that neither one of them won a championship. So there'll be some people. The problem is time has to separate all that. If you go 10 years from now, they'll realize how good a coach Andy Reid was here in Philadelphia. If you go 10 years from now, you realize that Donovan McNabb was probably the best quarterback in Eagles history. But time's been too short, so they don't absorb it. Mike Schmidt was crushed here, was booed. He was only the best third baseman that ever played the game, but it took time for people to understand that. So time really heals a lot of that. But there'll be a lot of people cheering, but I clearly don't think it's going to be 100%. There'll be boos, and then I think it'll be drowned out by the cheers for the most part.
Howard, it's Chase Senior. As a local kid, I used to listen to your show every single day, so it's an honor to talk to you. You're a reason why I want to get into the radio business. I've been an Eagles fan since I can remember, but at the same time, I'm only 21 years old. I remember the end of the Ray Rhodes brief coaching stint, but for the most part, Andy Reid is all I know as a fan of this organization. I'm certainly thankful to have seen such a successful run of football, and Reid helped make the organization relevant again, but he wasn't able to break through, as we all know, and win that big game. Why do you believe there's a fraction of this fan base that despises Reid? Because I know you had a pretty close relationship with him.
Well, I mean, what they don't like is that Andy Reid never answered questions. Mm-hmm. It was vague. He didn't share things. He didn't show a personality. I mean, LaShawn McCoy said it yesterday, and I've seen it, that regardless of what he shows to the media and publicly, he's got a really good personality. He's a funny guy. He's a good guy. But he didn't care about showing that. He just cared about coaching a football team, and that's just his belief on how to coach that goes way back to his college days and his college head coach. But that's why they didn't like him. And the fact that he didn't win a Super Bowl just was on top of that. But Dick Vermeil never won a Super Bowl, but people love him because he had a personality. He had his heart on his sleeve. You know, there's different ways that you can show people, and they accept it. They can't accept Andy Reid not showing the fact, not showing any emotion, not laughing, not smiling. He was upset, obviously, at the end, but never really showed it. And I think that was the biggest problem with Andy Reid. And people just never could accept the way he was personally, and then started to overlook what he did as a head coach. You can't forget that in 2 years he got into the playoffs, but people don't want to remember that. They just remember the other parts about Andy Reid.
Howard Eskin joins us on the hotline, Philly's #1 college radio station, WHIP. This is the main event with Zach Gelb and Chase Sr. And Howard, this team went to 5 NFC championship games. They were one drive away from winning a Super Bowl. Why was this team never able to break through and bring a Lombardi trophy back to Philadelphia?
Well, in the end, it comes down to players. And you can blame the coach, but ultimately, it's the players. The coach helps the players get better, and Andy Reid helped them get better. But the players have got to win for you. You think Bill Belichick would have won Super Bowls without Tom Brady?
No way.
Without Tom Brady, there were 500 teams
That's a good
forever
point.
under Bill Belichick. So, he's the greatest. Well, yeah, he's a good coach, but you need the players to be able to accomplish it. And Donovan McNabb, for a few reasons, just wasn't – he was really good, but he wasn't – I don't think he was great. I think he was really good. And ultimately, and it's not just him, there's players that just didn't get it done. The defense didn't get it done that day. The offense turned the ball over too many times. There's a few issues, and it's really just not the head coach.
When you look at the numbers that have been retired by the Eagles organization, you see names like Steve Van Buren, Brian Dawkins, Chuck Bednarik, Reggie White, and Jerome Brown. McNabb is the franchise record holder in touchdown passes and passing yards, but a lot of talk in the city is that he is not deserving of getting his number retired by the Birds. In your eyes, did McNabb do enough during his career in Philly to deserve getting his number retired by the organization?
Yeah, I think he should have had his number. He should have his number retired, but I wouldn't have done it this quickly. I would have waited a little while because you got to let it settle in. And for whatever reason, they wanted to do it now. Donovan McNabb probably wanted to do it now. But you've got to let it settle in a little bit. And we're too quick to do these things where, to get in the Hall of Fame, you got to wait 5 years after you're retired. And then you don't get in because in football, guys don't get in right away anyway. Mm-hmm. So I think they needed some time to separate it, but I do believe that eventually, obviously it's going to happen Thursday night, eventually he should have had his number retired.
A few more questions with Howard Eskin, who joined us on the hotline, Philly's #1 college radio station, WHIP. Howard, let's get to these current-day group of Eagles. They opened it up in Washington. They impressed a lot of people, opened up a lot of eyes, and then they dropped a very tough one going up against the Chargers at Lincoln Financial Field. The head coach has been a lot talked about in this town. Will his offense be able to last? They also were questioning his game management in the final 2 minutes of that Chargers game. How would you grade the job so far of Chip Kelly 2 games into this era?
It's really hard to grade him. It is. Two games is really not a fair assessment. So maybe a B-, maybe a C+, because he's only 1-1. But the reality is, I think he knows what he's doing. I think he's really a really sharp guy. But is what he's doing going to work? We don't know that yet. And again, they don't have the players on defense. So offensively, they've done a really good job, but they don't have the players on defense. And really, that's a problem. I look at that end of the game 2 different ways. He wanted to score a touchdown, and the best way he thought was to keep one going. Because the reality is, even if he did run it down to the 2 minutes, San Diego would have still gotten the ball back with 1:40, and they had 2 timeouts. They never even used their timeouts on the last drive. So it didn't even matter. They would have moved down. If you didn't score a touchdown, all they needed was a field goal, and that was the problem. They needed to score a touchdown, and he did it the best way he thought. But it's really hard to give him a solid grade because it's only 2 games into his regular season, first season.
Since Chip Kelly has been hired as the Eagles head coach, the fan base has been revitalized, and they're finally not seeing a stale product that was becoming the case under Andy Reid. When you look at Chip Kelly now, you've gotten to see him firsthand and how he runs the team. How do you see the Chip Kelly era playing out when you look down the road in about 5 years?
Well, I can't see it playing out unless they get players. I think he's a good coach. I think they got a chance to win because their offense is really good, and all they need is one side of the football. The only way he's going to be recognized as a terrific coach in Philadelphia is he wins a championship. And they do it? Yeah, but a lot of things have to happen. So I can't answer. I can't see the future. I think they'll move forward. I think they'll be a better team this year. I think they'll be a better team in the future. Will they win a championship? That's really hard to answer that question.
Final one here with Howard Eskin as he joins us. Howard, this defense, you mentioned it, has been atrocious. They can't get pressure on the quarterback. Every wide receiver could go downfield so far through these first 2 games of the season. You hope Billy Davis could improve this unit, but you have a Chiefs team coming in here on Thursday with Alex Smith, who isn't an elite quarterback, but he's an average, above average quarterback, and then Jamal Charles, who's one of the best backs in the league. This is going to be a tough matchup for this Eagles defense on Thursday.
Well, it will be, but I don't think Kansas City scores a lot of points. And with that being the case, I think the Eagles are going to win, but I think it's going to be really difficult for the Eagles to win. But they're going to have to score 30-some points to do it. That's what it's going to come down to.
Well, Howard, we really appreciate the time. Thanks so much. I'm sure I'll see you in New York this year for the Super Bowl down at Radio Row. We appreciate a few minutes, and let's talk to you again real soon.
No problem. Thank you.